It started with a notebook that didn't belong to anyone. I found it on a rainy Tuesday afternoon while cleaning out the back storage room of the newspaper office. The place had been neglected for years. Dust-covered filing cabinets, broken chairs, and boxes of old newspapers stacked to the ceiling. Most of it was useless. Old reports, outdated archives, forgotten equipment. Then I noticed the notebook. It was sitting alone on top of a small cardboard box, as if someone had placed it there recently. The cover was plain black leather. No title, no label, just a thin elastic band holding it closed. At first, I assumed it was someone's personal journal, but when I opened it, the first page made me pause. At the very top, written in neat handwriting, was a headline: City Bridge Collapses, 3 Injured. Below it was a full article: names of witnesses, exact time of the accident, descriptions of the emergency response. It looked like a finished newspaper report. But there was one strange detail. The date written above the headline was tomorrow's date. I frowned. Maybe someone was practicing writing articles. That happened sometimes with interns. But the report was extremely detailed. Too detailed. It described how the bridge railing would snap during morning traffic. It listed the names of the 3 injured drivers, and it even mentioned the exact time the first ambulance would arrive. I checked the calendar on my phone. Tomorrow was Wednesday. The date on the page matched exactly. I closed the notebook slowly. At the time, I thought it was just a strange coincidence, but the next morning proved otherwise. The bridge collapse happened at 9:42 a.m., exactly like the notebook described. I was sitting at my desk when the emergency alert popped up on my phone. Traffic accident, bridge railing collapse, 3 drivers injured. My stomach tightened. I opened the news report. The names were the same. Every detail matched, even the arrival time of the first ambulance. For several minutes, I just stared at my screen. Then I grabbed the notebook from my bag. I flipped past the bridge article. There was another page, another headline: Local bank robbery foiled, suspect arrested. Tomorrow's date again, Thursday. The article described how a man would attempt to rob a downtown bank at exactly 1:15 p.m. Police would arrive within minutes and arrest him outside the building. My heart started racing. This couldn't be real. But after what happened with the bridge, I couldn't ignore it. The next day, I walked past the bank around lunchtime. I told myself I was just curious, nothing more. At 1:14 p.m., the door opened. A man wearing a black hoodie rushed inside. 1 minute later, alarms started blaring. At 1:18 p.m., 2 police cars pulled up. The man was arrested outside the building, exactly like the notebook predicted. That was the moment I realized something impossible. The notebook wasn't recording news. It was writing it before it happened. For the next week, I tested the notebook. Every night at exactly midnight, a new page appeared, a new article, a new event. Always tomorrow's news. A warehouse fire, a missing dog found, a subway delay caused by electrical failure. Each event happened exactly as written. I stopped sleeping normally. Every night I waited for midnight, watching the blank page. And every night, new words slowly appeared, written by an invisible hand. At first, the stories were small, local events, minor accidents, things that didn't change much. But one night, the headline was different, much bigger, much worse. The headline read, "Train derailment, 28 dead." My chest tightened. The article described a commuter train leaving the tracks just outside the city. Time, 7:48 a.m. tomorrow morning. Location, West River Crossing. Casualties, 28 people. I stared at the page for a long time. If the notebook was right, 28 people would die tomorrow, unless something changed. I grabbed my phone and called the city transit office. I told them there might be a problem with the West River tracks. They didn't take me seriously. I tried again, different department, same result. No one believed the reporter claiming a train crash would happen tomorrow. Finally, I drove to the rail yard myself. I found the maintenance worker and explained what I knew. He laughed, until I showed him the page. Something about the article made him uneasy. Maybe it was the details, maybe it was my desperation. But he agreed to check the tracks. An hour later, he called me. His voice sounded different, quieter. He said they had discovered a cracked support beam on the crossing bridge. The train route was immediately shut down for inspection. The derailment never happened. That was the first time the notebook was wrong. The article had predicted 28 deaths, but the accident never happened, which meant something important. The notebook didn't show the future. It showed a possible future, and that future could be changed. At first, the idea felt empowering. Every night I read tomorrow's news, and every day I tried to prevent the worst events. I stopped accidents, warned people, even helped police stop a robbery before it happened. For a while, it felt like I had been given a strange responsibility, a chance to make the world safer. But the notebook didn't like that. I noticed something strange after the train incident. The headlines started getting darker, more violent, more dangerous, almost like the future was correcting itself, balancing something I had disrupted. And one night, the notebook wrote something I never expected. The headline appeared at midnight, and when I read it, my blood ran cold. Local journalist found dead in apartment. The article described everything: the time, the location, even my name. It said I would be found dead tomorrow morning. Cause of death? Unknown. I stared at the page for what felt like hours. My hands were shaking. For weeks, I had been reading tomorrow's news, stopping tragedies, changing events. But now the story was about me, and I had no idea how to stop it. I left the apartment that night, drove around the city until sunrise, avoided every place mentioned in the article. When morning finally came, I was still alive. The prediction was wrong. But when I returned home later that afternoon, something else had changed. The notebook was gone, completely disappeared, as if it had never existed. It has been 3 months since the notebook vanished. I never saw it again. Sometimes I wonder where it came from, or who created it. Maybe it was never meant to predict the future. Maybe it was meant to test something. Because the biggest lesson wasn't about knowing tomorrow. It was about realizing how fragile the future really is. One small action can change everything. A phone call, a warning, a decision to act instead of ignore. For weeks, I believed the notebook gave me control over tomorrow. But the truth is, we all influence tomorrow every single day. We just don't notice it. Every choice we make changes something. A life saved, an accident avoided, a future rewritten. And maybe that was the real purpose of the notebook. Not to show the future, but to remind someone that the future is never fixed. Because sometimes the most important news isn't what happens tomorrow. It's what someone chooses to do today.